I want to say this. I have not watched this video. It literally popped up. I think he posted it like an hour ago. I wanted to watch this video because I think this video is going to articulate all of the reasons why I stopped streaming Clash. If you guys remember, about 2 weeks ago, I said I'm barely going to be streaming Clash. I've streamed Clash one time since then. And I don't want to, like, the thing is, I don't want to entirely abandon the game, but it's like in the current state that it's in, I just feel like I don't want to play in the current state that the game's in. Not that the game can't get fixed, because I love the game. I have 20,000 battles won in just ladder alone. I played the game for 10 years. I'm very passionate about the game, but it's like, I don't want to play the game unless I see them actually try to fix it. And I'll give a closing statement at the end of like kind of why I stopped playing Clash. But first off, let's watch this. Arcto literally makes like the most well-made videos ever. So when I saw him drop this, I wanted to watch it.
Tens of millions of dollars in lost revenue. YouTube views down nearly 50%. And one of the biggest...
I also literally pre-fired that happening, if you guys remember. When they released Heroes in level 16, I said they're initially going to spike revenue for like 1 month, and then it's all going to go down.
Royale streamers walking away.
Probably not going to be streaming too much Clash until they fix the game, bro.
That level of damage leaves a trail, and if you follow it, you don't just find one mistake, you find a pattern. A pattern where player experience slowly stopped being the priority. To understand how that pattern formed, you have to look at what Clash Royale used to be. Before Heroes, before Evolutions, and even before Champions...
Bro, I'm not even trolling, they needed to delete Heroes. Like, they can't because people already bought them. Like, I still can't believe they did that.
The game was far simpler, and it was built around community feedback. Balance changes, progression tweaks, even major updates were often direct responses to how players felt. Back then, feedback wasn't left unanswered. For example, battles used to cost gold. Every single match chipped away at your gold, and players hated it. It punished experimentation and made losing feel worse than it needed to be. So Clash Royale removed it entirely. The game instantly felt more accessible because you could actually play without worrying about your gold. Progression had similar problems. Level 6 legendaries were absurdly difficult to obtain, so difficult that—
Yeah, like, I'm not gonna lie, in the OG era, progression was probably way harder than it is now, but that's like every game, I think.
they felt more like status symbols than playable cards. The community pushed back and Supercell listened. Level 6 legendaries were removed, locking them at level 5 and bringing them back to the realm of something you could somewhat realistically work toward instead of endlessly chase. And when
I
players
don't even remember level 6 going to level 5 with I don't even remember that.
said epics were bottlenecking progression, the response wasn't silence. It was Epic Sunday, a small change, sure, but one that directly targeted a real frustration, giving players a reliable, predictable way to grow their collections instead of relying purely on luck. The same philosophy applied to legendaries. When players wanted a clearer path to actually unlocking them, legendary chests were introduced. Not perfect, but it was something.
Yeah, that was a good step. Dude, I remember Epic Sunday. I literally maxed out my boulder just because of Epic Sunday. Like, I remember
what you were getting. And for the first time, legendary cards felt attainable. Then came one of the biggest additions the game had ever seen. 2v2. Players wanted a way to play with their friends that wasn't locked behind friendly battles. What they got instead was a casual, social mode that removed pressure entirely, and it ended up becoming one of Clash Royale's most loved features of all time. Even progression control was handed back to the players. When people got tired of pulling legendaries they didn't want, trade tokens were added, a clever way to give people the legendaries they want without increasing drop rates or introducing card requests. Suddenly,
yeah, okay, so I see how he's framing the video. He's kind of going with all the good things they did, and now he's gonna like probably go to the last year.
Progression wasn't just about luck anymore.
Yeah, trade tokens were great. Like, I remember when those got released, people were really happy about that.
Or it was about choice. If you invested time, you could actually move your deck forward. But even with simpler things like balance changes, the community had a lot of impact. Royale Giant is the perfect example. He was infamous for his massive range, creating frustrating, non-interactive gameplay. And instead of ignoring complaints or slapping on small stat tweaks, Supercell reworked him into a card that was healthier for the game. Still strong, but far less obnoxious to face. None of these changes were accidental. They happened because—
Bro, look at the look at the OG Royal Giant range, by the way. Just like enjoy that for a second. Like this is one of the issues. I don't ever like to get tunnel visioned on like a game because, like, for example, if I'm critiquing Clash or critiquing R6, it's multiple issues. But like, who saw this and legitimately thought this was a good idea? You have a Royal Giant in this clip outranging an Inferno Tower. Like, it's like, what? Like, there's literally people who get paid to make these cards. Like, how do you have a job? Legitimately, how do you have a job? And you made a card that's going to impact millions of players that outranged an Inferno Tower.
Players spoke up, and the game responded. So when did this stop? When did player-first design quietly turn into revenue-first design? I don't blame
Now that is a great question. Because I feel like I don't know, I feel like they kind of were always like this, but—
for wanting money. Clash Royale is a business, and it always has been. You can't blame a business for wanting to make money. But there needs to be a balance, one where the game makes profit, but the player base can still enjoy the game. The issue isn't that they monetize the game, it's how that monetization slowly changed the priorities behind the updates. And there hasn't been a single update you can point to and say, this is when everything went wrong.
Yeah, no.
The shift was gradual,
it's
subtle,
just a bunch
almost
of little things.
Reasonable at first. But a strong place to start is
I think level 16 though is like the one thing where like anyone in the world could have just saw that this is going to have like extreme long-term. And I remember when I didn't know if you guys can remember when I said this, but it was the day level 16 got announced. I literally said, I'm like, things like this and updates like this are in a year from now, which actually it was a month, but when a year from now, when people are making documentaries of the downfall of the game, it's like they're gonna hone in on that. It's like, it's just, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's good.
Summer of 2019, with the introduction of Pass Royale. On paper, Pass Royale looked harmless, even generous, a low-cost monthly—
Yeah, this was inevitable. Pass Royale, like Fortnite has a battle pass, like every game has a battle pass. This was inevitable.
pass filled with rewards, cosmetics, and quality of life perks. Compared to aggressive shop offers or pure pay-to-win systems, it felt fair, almost player-friendly, and—
Yeah, so 2019, well, like 2020 is when I completely quit, but 2019 is when I stopped playing a lot. I never experienced the OG, like, Prime Pass Royale, but I heard it was insane.
Early on, it was. But Pass Royale marked a philosophical shift. Before this, monetization mostly lived around the game. Chests, shop offers, optional shortcuts. With Pass Royale, monetization moved into the core progression loop itself. Progress wasn't just about how well or how often you played anymore. It was about whether you were on the paid track or the free one. While it offered a cheaper alternative for maxing cards and unlocking new cards, it inevitably created a significant divide between players who spent money and those who didn't. This disparity became especially noticeable in early 2021 when the Book of Books was added to the pass. At the time, this was before champions were introduced, so the Book of Books essentially provided access to around 20 legendaries each month, a huge boost for anyone playing. Free-to-play players, on the other hand, were left without these powerful cards and missed out on a host of extra perks, including chest queuing, continuing challenges, and other—
Wow, so if you bought a Pass Royale in 2021, you would get an automatic Book of Books on the 5th tier. That's insane.
Rewards that made progression much easier. The divide only widened in October of 2021 when Clash Royale saw a major shift in monetization. For the first time in nearly 6 years, a new level was added, with level 14 bringing higher card levels and new challenges. Now, it's important to understand that these level increases didn't actually add any new content. A level 14 card plays exactly the same as a level 13 card. The interactions, the mechanics, the strategies, everything stays the same. The only difference is that a higher level card hits harder and survives longer. So really what level 14 did was create a new kind of imbalance, not a new kind of gameplay. Suddenly players with level 14 cards had an edge over those still at level 13, and every interaction
I'm a little curious to like see what the after effect of this was.
Became less about skill and more about who had spent more to reach that level. It wasn't adding content, it was adding advantage. And that made the gap between paying and free-to-play players even more obvious. Then there was the infamous Royale incident, and this one really rubbed players the wrong way.
Whoa, what is this?
During the event, players were heavily encouraged to upgrade their cards with huge discounts and extra rewards. On the surface, it seemed like a great deal, but shortly after, level 14 was announced. With that update, the gold and card requirements for maxing cards was reduced across the board. What that meant is that anyone who had upgraded their cards during Royale suddenly lost potential value. The epics and legendaries they had spent gold and magic items on could have been upgraded more efficiently if they had waited. Essentially, the event tricked players into spending resources too early, leaving them feeling frustrated and misled. It wasn't just about lost gold, it was about the sense that the game had nudged you into making the wrong choice, creating a lot of tension between paying.
This is kind of the pattern I saw with Evos, where like, don't get me wrong, I think when Evos are balanced, they're really good for the game. But like, I remember when they would just release like a game-breaking Evo, like the Witch is always a good example. Same with the Furnace. Both game-breaking Evos. And it's like, they're making it game-breaking just to get people to buy it. And then they would nerf it into oblivion, though. Like, I remember they would nerf the Witch like 4 times before they buffed her. And she was unplayable for like a month. It was just, it's so weird, you know, like, you're like getting gaslit into paying money, but then they nerf the card into the ground. It's like, it's really weird.
And free players, and highlighting just how sharp the divide had become. On top of that, champions arrived, cards that were even harder to unlock than legendaries, and also very powerful. Suddenly, the Book of Books from earlier in the year became even more valuable, making the gap between paying and non-paying players feel wider than ever. What had started as a convenience for players seeking faster progression had transformed into a system that amplified the difference in power and access between free and paying players, fundamentally changing how the game felt for each group. Around this time, card releases had also started to feel stale. New cards were coming out less frequently, and when they did, it was usually just one at a time. So there wasn't really much new content to get excited about, and there wasn't anything to compensate for all the frustrating updates, like level 14 or Royale. And for many—
in my personal opinion, as a player of the game for 10 years, I think the best possible thing they can do, and it's so simple, is just continuously release new cards. Like, I think that's the best thing you can possibly do. And it's so simple, but like, they just kind of refuse to do it. Like, they haven't released a new card in a minute. Like, they're just releasing heroes. Like, I mean, Evos are cool because Evos are a concept of a card. But like, when they released Vines, like, that was awesome because it was a whole new card. It changed the game, you know? Like, that's the most important thing to do, and I just feel like they don't really do it that much.
Players, the game started to feel slower, less rewarding, and more about keeping up with power than discovering anything genuinely new. Now let's talk about what some players are calling the update for losers. This update, which rolled out on March 27th, might be one of the worst updates in Clash Royale history. And it all started with the Gold Pass. One of the biggest changes was the removal of the Book of Books. This magic item had been a cornerstone for upgrading champions efficiently, and without it, upgrading now feels much harder. At the same time, the value of the Gold Pass itself decreased, even as the price went up by $1. To make matters worse, the new Diamond Pass, priced at $12, offers worse value than—
Bro, I don't even remember the Diamond Pass. I'm assuming they got rid of it.
The previous $5 pass. Its only real exclusive reward is an animated banner, which looks nice, but does nothing for progression. Hardly justification for such a steep price increase. Another unpopular change was the removal of chests from 2v2 matches. For many players, this was a fun way to casually earn rewards with friends. Losing it makes you wonder about the direction the game is heading. The update itself also felt really underwhelming. At this time, it had been more than 4 months.
One thing I'm curious on that he didn't touch on, and I'm sure there's like statistics about it, is like, I wonder like when they released level 14, like if they noticed a significant drop off in players and revenue. Because like if they noticed that, I'm surprised they did it again with 15 and then did it again with 16. All in like a 2-year span.
Months since a proper update, and all we got
like
were some
3 years.
small changes to Pass Royale and events. No new card, no significant quality of life updates, and no fresh game modes. In fact, during this time, we hadn't seen a new card in nearly 6 months. And the community made it very clear.
Wow.
The YouTube video for this update has 170,000 dislikes and only 70,000 likes. And the comments were even more brutal, with people saying things like, "Been playing since launch. This update marks the last time I'll be active. This is horrible. Thanks Supercell for the hours of entertainment over the years, and thanks to all the great people I've met or battled. Maybe you should have an update where you take suggestions for the player base." And what came only a few months later only made things worse. And then came level 15 and evolutions. And honestly, this was one of the most controversial moments.
I personally think evolutions are good for the game. If they're like monitored and like they're not, I don't think a broken Evo is good for the game, but I think evolutions are a good concept.
In Clash Royale history.
I think that's probably the only good thing they've done in the last couple of years.
Level 15 itself was already frustrating. The gap between level 14 and 15 came in less than 2 years, and the devs promoted it as no gold required. But in reality, unlocking level 15 cards required 50,000 elite wild cards, which were a nightmare to obtain. It wasn't just—
the reason why I think Evos are good though is like everybody who plays Clash for the most part, like probably 90% of the player base has like one main deck, and like when your favorite card in your main deck finally gets an Evo, it's cool. Like, it's just, I know people enjoy that a lot, but like, when you get into like heroes and then level 16, it's like, there is no content. It's just hell.
Just about getting to level 15, it was about how it was promoted, with promises of no gold, while still making players grind or spend heavily to actually reach it. And if that wasn't enough, evolutions dropped at the same time. Evolutions are now an intricate, balanced part of the game. Well, not always balanced, but compared to June of 2023, they definitely are now. Because at launch, they were insanely overpowered. You couldn't realistically get more than one evolution.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't play it. I would have probably instantly quit. Like, because I heard the Evos back then were like just game breaking.
Without paying, because wild shards
like
were banned.
Apparently the OG Evo Knight was like the most unkillable card ever.
New, you couldn't stockpile them, and the only available offer to buy them directly was a $100 bundle. And yet, these evolutions were absolutely essential for competing at higher.
Can we rewind that? What?
Stockpile them, and the only available offer to buy them directly was a $100 bundle. And yet, these evolutions were absolutely essential for competing at higher levels. If you didn't have them, you were at a serious disadvantage. And before you say, Arcto, they weren't that bad, were they? Let's quickly break down the 4 original evolutions and how they impacted the game. Skeletons. The evolved skeletons introduced a completely new mechanic. Every hit spawned an extra skeleton, and on paper this created a snowballing chain of chaos that looked terrifying. But at launch, they weren't broken. The evolution required 3 cycles to activate, and only 6 could be—
I love Evo Skellies. Like, if you're horrible, they'll get on your tower, but like, if you know what you're doing, I mean,
on the field at once.
They're only broken when like they get those really good elixir exchanges where like they're defending an entire P.E.K.K.A. by themselves.
And in most matches, you'd only evolve them once or twice, and they still died to a simple log or zap. Their usage rate on ladder was just 1.8%. Over the next year, buffs made them much stronger, faster attack speed, lower activation cycles, higher max count, and by 2024 they became one of the most played evolutions in the game, showing just how much potential they had once properly tuned. Firecracker. The Evolve Firecracker, released alongside Skeletons,
This
was
card
a
was broken.
complete nightmare on launch. Every spark she shot stacked damage separately, meaning multiple projectiles could hit your Princess Tower individually. And she couldn't even die to arrows, a 3-elixir spell that normally neutralized her. Her area control was absurd, and she could single-handedly shut down pushes across the map. Firecracker wasn't just strong, she was game-breaking. Royal Giant. The Evolved Royal
Oh, she didn't die to arrows? Okay.
Giant was perhaps the most ridiculous at launch. On paper, he seemed like a slightly tankier version of himself, maybe with a few flashy effects, but in practice, absolute chaos. He had 30% more health and a knockback effect so powerful it would literally push units like Mini P.E.K.K.A. back across the arena without taking a swing. With rage support, he could infinitely shove melee troops back while pounding towers.
God.
This was a massive offensive advantage, and for many matches, it felt downright unfair.
Oh my god, the rage.
Barbarians. Evolved Barbarians were the least impactful of the original 4. They got a temporary rage boost on spawn, increasing their attack speed briefly. On paper, that sounded terrifying, but in practice, they never felt as strong as Firecracker or Royal Giant, and compared to Skeletons, their snowballing value
I
wasn't
feel like you could make the Evo Barbs really broken and they still wouldn't get played that much just because the base Barbarians are such a bad card.
there. And since you could only run one evolution per deck, Evolved Barbarians were often overlooked in favor of the other, far more oppressive options. The bottom line, while Skeletons and Barbarians were interesting and had their moments, Firecracker and Royal Giant were absolutely broken at launch. They created an environment where spending money to access evolutions wasn't just advantageous, it was almost mandatory. Players without them were at a
Now, like, this is the sad part too. In this like era of the game, but like, if you're a top player, and I don't even mean top 100. Like, I don't even mean like Mo. I mean like if you're a top like 20,000 player and you don't have Evos, like you're literally just gonna go down in rank. Like, you're gonna lose. If you don't have a single Evo, like, that's the problem. Like, it just forces your hand to buy them, kind of thing, you know?
massive disadvantage, and matches were increasingly decided by who had the stronger evolution rather than skill. Level 15 and evolutions didn't just raise the power ceiling, they amplified the divide between paying and free players, introduced mechanics that were immediately overpowered, and changed the meta in ways that made the early game feel irrelevant. It was a controversial period, and for many, it was one of the most frustrating moments in Clash Royale history. And it's not like it was just these 4 evolutions. Every month, a new evolution dropped, and each one was incredibly strong. And guess what? The only way to acquire them was through Pass Royale.
That was my least favorite meta, like, since I've returned to the game, was the Evo Baby Dragon Golem meta. Bro, do y'all remember that one time where I was streaming? It was the last day of the season. And I like got off early. I played like 20 battles in 14 of them, they just had Evo Baby Dragon with Golem. It was every battle. It was so brain rot.
At this point, even long-term players had uninstalled the game, fed up with the absolute greed on display. Throughout the rest of 2023 and 2024, this sentiment didn't change. Players were frustrated and the game's reputation was suffering. The game was clearly on a decline, updates tried to breathe life back into it, but the damage had been done. Clash Royale was slowly, but surely, dying. But then a miracle happened. A streamer named JYNXZI picked up the game after years of not playing. And something clicked for him. He had a lot of fun, and honestly, I don't blame him. The concept of evolutions is genuinely awesome, and the core gameplay of Clash Royale is near perfect for a mobile game. So of course, it was still possible to enjoy the game, especially if you hadn't been around for the worst updates. JYNXZI didn't just enjoy it quietly though, he showed off how fun Clash Royale could be to both new players and those who had quit years ago.
Yeah, and I also want to say, like, Riley literally, like, carried. Like, Riley made the game more fun for me to play, more fun for people to watch. Like, if it wasn't for him, like, I wouldn't have streamed. I literally told him this 100 times, but like, he made the game more fun. Like, I just had more fun playing with him. You know what I mean? So like, it was a lot easier to play the game because like I just had fun playing with him. You know?
Collaborations with Ken, Riley, and streaming the game every day helped bring the community
Oh
back.
God, why this? No, why this? Why this?
It's no coincidence that interest in the game hit its
Dude, okay, actually look at that. That is insane.
highest level nearly 10 years after release. JYNXZI undoubtedly played a huge role in reviving it. Meanwhile, Clash Royale kept dropping new evolutions as usual, and we saw some exciting reworks like Goblin Hut, Furnace, and even the Three Musketeers got updates, but the meta remained toxic, and very little was done to fix the underlying issues. At least the game was playable and fun. The Spirit Empress was unique, merged tactics, introduced a whole new way to play, and the game still had moments of excitement. But just when things seemed stable, a new shakeup arrived. Elite wildcards were removed. Players immediately started speculating, what could this mean? And about a week later—
oh yeah, this was like the calm before the storm. This was it, bro. This was it. What a well-made video. I actually forgot about this.
It became clear. Level 16 was announced, and so were Heroes.
Just like a double punch. Like, just, I know you don't want this, and I know you really don't want this, so let's just give them to you at the same time, and then see what happens.
The reaction was devastating. When Heroes went live, it became painfully obvious that they were super overpowered and heavily pay to win, with abilities locked behind yet another paywall. Sure, the elite wildcard system was gone, but that meant nothing when the cost of competing had just skyrocketed. The divide between paying and free players had once again widened, and the frustration that had built up over the years only intensified. And the numbers reflect everything.
And isn't that the funniest thing? And I literally said this was going to happen. But like, when you chase around money like that, you end up just making less money. It's like, it's literally the funniest thing ever.
Despite Heroes and level 16 being introduced to
it's like a toddler could figure this out. I don't—
money, the difference between October and December is already huge in revenue, dropping from 74 million USD in revenue down to 58 million in December. And
that's an $18 million loss after adding in a paywall, which you would think if your goal is to add in level 16 and add in Heroes to make more money, you would make more money, right? But the thing is that they didn't account for is the mass exodus of millions of players, because millions of players quit the game. They're not going to give you a cent because they're gone. They don't want to play the game anymore.
Even looking at Google Trends, we can see that it dropped from 100% interest to a sad 42. And Clash Royale's golden goose, JYNXZI, said he won't be coming back until they fix their game. While this—
yeah, I still play the game, like off stream, but I've streamed the game once in like 2 weeks. And I kind of plan on keeping it that way unless I see them actually change the game, which I still like. Maybe I'm delusional, maybe I'm crazy. I still believe in them to like change the game because it's not hard. It's not like brain surgery. It's not some difficult thing. It's not rocket science. All you have to do is add in new cards, like for example, the Spirit Empress, the Vines, add in new cards, add in new game modes, add in new evos, add in as much content as you can. Stop trying to monetize everything. And like, I'm always going to play the game, whatever. But like, when it comes to streaming the game, the reason why I kind of like don't stream the game nearly as much as I used to is like, I saw it as, in my opinion, as like a long time enjoyer of the game who came back into the game. Obviously what he just said in the video, in 2025, the game reached a height it never reached before in like the USA. It passed 2016 when the game came out. And like what I saw and how I felt about it was like, instead of using that as an opportunity of all the new players and all the old players who came back to the game to make your game better, it kind of just seemed like they were just going to try to squeeze as much money out of everyone as quick as possible. And it felt really like disrespectful, but also just sad in a way. Like just kind of depressing. Not really like I'm mad at anything, but it's just like more so depressing. It just felt like you're trying to squeeze this towel instead of making the game better. And like, so I just kind of went away from the game a little bit, or like a lot. Like I barely stream the game, but like I still play, but like I barely stream the game.
It is a dark period for the Clash Royale community. Deep down, somewhere inside of me, I feel like they can do something to save
I feel the same way
some
too.
degree. I don't know, man. This might be cope, but I love this game so much. It's let me build this beautiful community here on YouTube, and I would love to keep it growing with you guys. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video,
but yeah, great video, bro. This guy's channel's goated. Go sub them. This guy's a beast. But yeah, I don't know, bro. Like, that's just how I felt about it. It just felt like instead of like making the game better in the last year with all of the like new players, old players, people coming back to the game, people like me who just came back into the game, it just felt like they were trying to just like squeeze it for everything it had and squeeze it for every dollar. And that's why like I probably won't be streaming the game even 20% as much as I used to, maybe even 10%, because it's just like, why should I shed more light on the game when it's like, I know it's in such a bad spot, but I also have so much belief too that they can fix the game, because it's not hard to fix. Maybe just fire some fucking people, but like, yeah, I don't know.